Hello and welcome to part 4 of our video series on using 123D design for 3D printed accessories. We're going to cover some new things in this tutorial. First one being designing something to be a specific size. This first bangle we have here, we've designed to match a 60mm wrist because we've measured a wrist and that's the widest part, so we know if we do it that size and then it will fit. You can see that I've set it up 60 here. So we're actually going to use a new tool for this, the Revolve tool, and just as a guideline to make sure we've got it the right size, we're going to draw that 60mm line. And we're going to draw a second line from the center. You notice the triangle comes up when it snaps to the center, and a line coming out perpendicular, doesn't really matter the length. And this is the middle of the bangle. To do our Revolve tool, we simply need to draw some sort of 2D profile. We can use any combination of the tools we've learned about so far. In this one, I'm going to use a Polygon. It's important in this step that the internal shape doesn't go past that guideline. So here would be okay, that would make it bigger than 60. Here would make it smaller than 60. So probably we want the edge to touch just there. I'm going to press the tab key and change this to be a 5-sided one and click, and I have my shape, and that is the minimum that I need to do a revolve. From the construct menu we come to revolve and we need to input two things. Firstly is the profile. We need to click in the middle of the shape so it gets a green outline, and now we switch it to axis and we click our center line that we set up. You can see now that we have the option to revolve that shape around the middle. If you're doing a full revolution, you can just type in 360, but for this bangle we're going to leave a little gap, hoping that it will flex and make it easier to get on and off. Obviously this is now facing sideways compared to the grid, so we would need to click it, go to the move menu when it comes up, rotate it 90 degrees to the side, click off to save, and we have a keyboard shortcut called drop, and we press D on the keyboard, and whatever object is selected will then drop to touch the bottom of the grid perfectly. This is all very well and good if we are designing from scratch for the certain size, but what if we've already designed something, we've paid no attention to the size, and we need to scale it. First thing we need to do is measure how big it currently is. So we know that we want the inside point to be 60 diameter, so we can use the measure tool, and we can see here that we have 10.12 radius. We're actually aiming for 30. So what we need to do is actually use a calculator, and it's a very simple sum. We go for the desired measurement, which is 30, divided by the actual measurement, 10.12, and that gives us a ratio. In this case it's 2.9644 and a whole bunch of other numbers. But we leave that number stored in our calculator and we click on the shape and then scale, and we type that number straight in, 2.9644. You can see it scaled it up by hopefully the perfect amount. If we then come back to the measure tool and click on that internal shape, we can see the radius is 29.994, which should be close enough for what we need. Once again we can press drop to set up that piece. Another scenario you might have is you've drawn an existing shape but you need to put a hole in it to make it a bangle. We've got two ways of doing this. The first way is to do a cylinder, and once again we set the radius to 30 because for the wrists we're designing for we want it to be 60, and we make the height really tall. We click where we want it to go. The key here is to click and move the cylinder so it goes the entire way through the other shape, because we're going to use it to punch a hole. So I'm going to slide that down. As you can see, it goes through the bottom, and then we come up to the combine menu and to subtract. Now the order is very important here. Our first click needs to be what we want to keep. Our second click needs to be the shape we're using to cut with. And the hole is cut, it should be at a diameter of 60 because that's what we input. Second way we can do this is by simply doing a sketch on the top surface. So not on the grid, notice the difference here, on the top surface of our shape. And we could just draw a simple circle set to 60, which I didn't, but you would set yours to what you wanted, and then extrude straight down.